Matthew Stuckey here from Verity Baptist Church, Manila, providing you with another missionary update. And this past Sunday we had 40 in attendance, and this week we had 30 people from our church going out soul winning. Now, 40 is a good attendance because honestly we were running in the low 30s there for a while. Last Sunday, a week ago, was kind of an anomaly because we had 62 in attendance. But we had a lot of people that were kind of curious to check it out, that were from the local community. We kind of made a push and had about 15 people from the local community, as well as other people that are kind of listeners online or maybe listen to some degree, and they are kind of checking it out. So honestly, the attendance of 40 is pretty good. We're happy with those results, and I do believe in the area we're in, we can start getting some of these people to come more regularly. And I know there's a lot of people that are trying to get their work schedules figured out so they can come to each of the services now that they have a church that they really like that's in town and everything like that. So that's a good attendance, and we had 93 saved, which was a pretty good week, and we had big results both on Saturday and Sunday. Now, one thing that we're going to be making changes to is with our baptistry. We're planning to get that ready this Sunday, and so we moved in, we got a baptistry, but we still have to make a few adjustments to it before it's ready. And we're planning to have it ready this Sunday, and so we have people ready to get baptized. But in addition to that, with our soul winning on Sunday afternoons, we're going to try to make a push to get them baptized right after soul winning time as we meet back up at the building at around 5 p.m. So we're excited about the potential there, and we'll see how that goes. We're definitely going to make a push for it, and it's something that I'm going to talk about, and we're going to have a handout with how to explain baptism and things like that to really try to reach this local community. And so things are going very well. We're excited about the new building. And now that we're getting settled in, there's only a few things left. Things are definitely a little bit calmer, so more time can be devoted to the ministry itself, and we're excited about the possibilities that God can open up. And so on Wednesday, I preached on John chapter 5, and I made a very rookie mistake by not really paying too much attention to the time. And I didn't think it was going to be that long of a sermon, and then all of a sudden I look up and I realize, oh wow, I've been preaching for like 75 minutes. And so I think it was the longest sermon I've ever preached, but honestly there's a lot of content that I think is very applicable to our church. And I kind of went verse by verse. I didn't necessarily see main points in John chapter 5 as it preached through some of the other chapters and sections and things like that. But that's what I preached on John chapter 5, and it kind of covered a lot of different things. Then on Sunday morning I preached on Noah's flood in the final part of the series, and it was the result of God's destruction. And it was a 6-point sermon. Quite honestly, I should have probably put it into 2 points because I was kind of rushing through the sermon. I felt like there's a lot of great meat to the sermon. One thing that was kind of interesting in the sermon, which I think a lot of people were not aware of, is, I handed everybody a picture of what looks like a rainbow. And I asked everybody in the crowd, do you believe this is a rainbow? And, most people said, yes. A lot of people didn't want to answer, but, most people said yes. And then all of a sudden I told them, well, that's actually not a rainbow, and I handed them another picture. And so the first picture I handed them that looked like a rainbow is actually the symbol of the LGBT, which has 6 colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. But an actual rainbow has 7 colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. And unfortunately, a lot of us are not really aware of that because we're so used to seeing this, 6-colored rainbow, so to speak. And even soul winning the next day, I noticed in Rizal Park that some kid was flying a kite with 6 colors, and people are being desensitized to it. It's becoming normal to them, and that's kind of how they picture it. When in reality, that's not a rainbow. And so the number of God's perfection of 7 was changed to 6. Obviously, a rainbow was a symbol that came during the flood. As God put that symbol up in the sky to promise He would never flood the world again, doesn't mean He won't pour out His destruction on the world, though. And so that's one thing I covered in the sermon. And also the second sermon, a dissolver of doubts. I talked about the doubts of the family. And so this was the 4th of a 5-part series. And honestly, this was a sermon that I got more compliments than maybe one other sermon. And a lot of people really liked the sermon. They thought it was really helpful. It was very applicable. And so I went into Sunday thinking that the first sermon was going to be kind of the show-stopping sermon, really exciting. Second sermon, I was like, well, I guess it's okay. But honestly, it just kind of shows that, all of us, there's a lot of practical wisdom we need, especially as I talked about being fathers, wives, parents, homeschooling your children, and the doubts that people have and how you can overcome those doubts and do a good job. And so that's what the sermons were about. And we're still making some changes to the building. And if you watch the live stream services, I encourage you to just kind of give me feedback on how it's looking. And we tried a couple different locations for the camera. I think it was a little bit brighter this most recent Sunday. But one thing I noticed was that where we do the live stream on my phone, it is darker than, you know, on other phones. Even though it's an iPhone, for whatever reason, it's not as light as on other phones. So I'm not really sure that's a problem really with, you know, needing a new curtain in the background or spotlight or whatever. I think it's just a problem on the phone where it's not quite as light as in other places. We did change it though, and it was a little bit lighter, and I'm interested on everybody's feedback on that if you want to either message on this video below or send an email, but also with the sound quality. And we've been using portable Wi-Fi since we went into this new building, and it hasn't been perfect. You know, people have commented that sometimes it jumps in and out, and so we want your feedback on that to let us know. And we're planning to go to getting Wi-Fi in the building itself and getting internet there, and hopefully that will fix the problem and it will be more steady, because we do know a lot of people watch the live stream of our services, so we want to have a good online ministry, even though that's secondary to actually the church itself. But anyways, the second sermon, it's going to take a little while to get that on YouTube, because we have a copy on someone else's phone, but there's a problem with transporting it, so that's probably going to come late this week. It's not going to come early this week. But the other sermon, The Result of God's Destruction, it should be up today. And so things are going great. You know, continue to pray for us. And honestly, this new building's awesome. Everything's going great. You know, the soul winning around the building is great. We're doing more house to house because our goal is to obviously build a church, reach the local community, not just soul winning in parks all the time. But things are going great. Continue to pray for us, and you know, we expect bigger and better things here as we're in our new building and we're pushing forward here in 2019. Thank you, and God bless.